Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Life Science Rundown. This is Nicholas Capman with the FDA Group. Before we jump into our discussion for today, just a little bit about the FDA Group. We help life science companies in the areas of quality assurance, regulatory affairs, clinical operations, commissioning, qualification, and validation, as well as manufacturing and engineering. We offer 3 engagement models, which are consulting, staff augmentation, and full-time employee recruitment. So if you ever find yourself in need, just head over to the fdagroup.com, check us out, and get in touch. So today I'm speaking with Ram Konduru. So Ram, thanks for joining.
Yep. Anik.
All right. So why don't we jump right into things? Could you introduce yourself and your company and tell us a little bit about what you do and what your organization does?
Sure. I'm Ram Konduru. I'm the CEO of PrimeSoft Inc. There again, we are an IT services shop where we do a lot of consulting work and product development for companies, software product development. And I have a second company, which is like a co-founded as a part of MIT. And that is a Medtech company. And the company name is called Coherence Health. So we are trying to solve the compliance and to do a positive behavior for the patients to take medications. And we are pretty excited. Yeah, that's what I do.
That's awesome. Given the people that watch this podcast, do you want to maybe add a little more color into the Medtech side of the business, just so that people that are curious, they know where to find you and kind of what the general description is?
Yeah, sure. So again, Coherence Health, we co-founded. So my co-founder is a neurosurgeon. So we both met as a part of an executive MBA program at MIT a few years back. That's where he was the passionate about this problem. There are a lot of repeated patients who come to emergencies where he go and treat patients. Sometimes you get lucky, but most of the time things are not going according to the plan. And that's what prompted my co-founder to go and dig deeper into the problem. So he did the customer discovery. It's a lot more complex because people forget to take medications and people don't take medications for various reasons. So he started digging into it and then we both met and things started working out because we want to solve a complex problem. That's what attracts me in any kind of problem. And we want to help people along the way. And we started that journey 2.5 years back. Now we have close to 10 plus member team across the globe. And our first pilot device, which is coming to US, and we are running a bunch of pilot studies in next couple of months.
Very cool. Well, if people are interested in learning more, where should they go?
So they can reach out to our website, www.coherencehealth, COHERENCEHEALTH.ai, coherencehealth.ai.
Okay, super. Thank you. So in all disclosure, Ram and I know each other. We're both members of a CEO peer group, Vistage. And for this conversation, because I know a lot of our the viewers of this podcast listen to some of the technical things that we talk about, but very often they are leading and managing teams. So I think that's really the focus of this conversation. So, what does leadership and management mean to you?
Yeah, to be honest, I'll start where I was with leadership and management, and I'll tell where I ended up. Because again, you start as an engineer. I'm a hardcore computer engineer by trade. So when I always thought manager is basically like giving tasks to people and they don't do much. That is how I started. And later, through the part of the journey, you will understand how difficult is it to do. And to be honest, there are 2 philosophies which I take away from leadership and management is, as a leader, your job is to make 1 + 1 greater than 2 as a team, right? You have 2 team members. How do you make that output greater than 2, right? And that's what the leadership is all about. And the second aspect, which I see is we all come from for work 9 to 5, you go out of the job, but what purpose you're bringing and what difference you're making, so that it is a leader's job to bring that purpose And it's a kind of a larger than life. How can you bring that to your team so that they can embrace the challenge and they basically tag along with you to take your company vision forward? That's what leadership and management to me.
So what I heard, or one of the things that you said is, you want to make 1+1 greater than 2, right? And I understand that. I used to say that, Bill Belichick plus Tom Brady equals 3, right? Or 5 or 10,000, right? So I definitely get the idea. So, but the general concept, I certainly understand as well. So as a leader and a manager, if I wanted to get 1+1 is greater than 2, what are some of the different strategies or tactics that you think facilitates that type of outcome?
So it's one of the thing actually we started implementing. This is a kind of a philosophy thing again, like everybody has their own way of doing leadership. That is the beauty of it. But what I thought in my experience, what brought the best results, some of my best teams, we talk about the company mission and the vision of the team quite a bit because it's about the common purpose and the common goal we are working towards. Because then you will not stop looking at your own path, you will start looking at the team's path. And it's the leader's job to always align that vision and also bring it out. And the second aspect, which I always see, is people, right? We are leaders, we have our goals to hit, and I know all the pressure situations, but at the end of the day, it's people. So we have to acknowledge that, take a step back, and create that bond with your team, and also give an opportunity for them to bond between themselves, because that is a job of a leader. And I think like once you see these two pieces fitting in together, rest of the pieces, I think like it will align by itself. But this is the crux of my high performing team versus normal ones, right? So it takes a while to take these pieces and replicate across the organization.
Mm-hmm. So I heard you talk about purpose and how that can, bring a team together. To an extent, I feel like most companies have a purpose that they believe facilitates that. Every so often, I'm surprised by some stories where it sounds like a manager or a leader from the 1950s or even the 1980s, and you're like, wow, those things still exist, and they do. So in terms of purpose, if we assume that almost all companies are giving their employees a purpose, how do leaders and managers create a mission statement that is going to drive the appropriate behaviors versus maybe a mission statement that doesn't drive those behaviors?
So again, this might be an old school thing, but I always believe that it's not what you say, it's what you believe, right? As a leader's job, you're not just saying to make results, do you really believe in it? And results will start falling in place only when you really believe in it. And this is my personal experience, right? I'm always the results driven guy. I want things to happen and I want to produce results. But it took like an evolution of more than 5 to 6 years for me to work on that. Do I really believe in it? And if I believe, how can I basically project that belief, right, onto the other people? And it requires a lot of practice, a lot of self-reflection. And once it happens, it becomes a second nature of you. And that's where, like you see, every company has a mission, but do they really believe in that mission? That's where the results will fall.
I heard you hint to the fact that you've progressed over time. So could you maybe paint a picture for me about what did Ram look like early on as a leader and manager, and what were the different steps where you felt like you elevated up to where you are now? And then if you could tie that story up with a bow at the end, share with me the different aspects that you utilize in order to promote the idea that you believe in the journey of the company and get everybody to hop on board.
Makes sense. So it's again, I'll go back to my, I would say, real leadership role where I was started. I think probably this is in 2014 to 16 time period, because Before then, I was an architect, and it's again like as a technical SME, you can do whatever. I was an enterprise architect, design solutions, and all those things. But after that, what's next? Because through that, you have your own ego. Because again, I came from very low beginnings, and when you look at it, you look back and you will be proud of yourself. But more than proud, you get your arrogance, because that is not good. But communicate to me. But during that time, I thought that, okay, what can I achieve more? How can I make a bigger impact? Then I started looking at myself, and I hated myself, because, all these traits which will never make you as a good leader, because leader needs to be humble. Leader needs to be actually like relatable, right, to the other people, and bring that vision into life. So it's a long journey. It's been an evolution of last 7 years. But I would say like three things which impacted to me in my journey is my mentors. I have a good mentors where they are very hard with me. I go prepared to that sessions to be ripped me apart, right? Because that is the whole philosophy of that session, is to see who we are as a part of that, rather than we want to hear, right? Like you want to hear saying that, hey, you are great, you're doing this. No, say as I am, so that I can go and improve. So I think like the mentorship, and after that, my executive coaching, last 4 years, I invested quite a bit. And also as a part of MIT, they also invest in executive coaching. So I continued through that. So right now it's through the mentorship with a regular check-ins and accountability, so that I say things, because as you know, when you say it out, it becomes real, and you're making them make you accountable. So I think like the accountability is one of the key aspects of my leadership growth, I would say. And through that part, I think like now I have wonderful advisors who look at my career and look at my personal growth. And I don't even have a regular check-ins. They call me and they say that, Ram, this is what I see. So that helps me to reflect. But it is a brutally honest, right? It's a lot of learning curve. And now also I know that there is a lot of learning for me as well, in order to pivot each step of the way.
So you talked about being humble. I definitely agree with that. One of our core values at the FDA group is be humbly confident. So I definitely subscribe to that. And I would say that I like your answer about mentors, because I'm, as you're aware, I'm writing a book called The Passionate Workforce. And one of the things that I found from my interactions with the scribe that I'm working with, or the firm that's helping me write the book, is most books are repeat knowledge through a different lens, right? And so while I do firmly believe there is unique parts of the book, a lot of the book is me, all of the information I've learned over my career, and how does that all connect, and how do I utilize that in my own way, right? But there's certain, in the book, I mentioned some of my mentors and how impactful they were. And there's, certain phrases or comments or things that were said, whether it's, one of my favorite ones is Maya Angelou's, you won't remember what they did, but you'll remember how they made you feel. I subscribe to that. My father growing up said, you don't have to do a lot more than everybody else, you just have to do a little more. So who are some of the mentors that had a real big impact in your life, and what are some of the nuggets that you think you were able to acquire from them that keep repeating in your mind?
This is actually like, I would say, my life philosophy, not just as a leadership, right? Like my great grandfather is an inspiration to me. I think like we grew up hearing his stories, because I think like he was an orphan. He had like a couple of younger brothers to take care at the age of 8. And he turned an entrepreneur at the age of 10.
Wow.
And right now, still our family, basically, when we go to our hometowns, they recognize using my great grandfather's name. And all my last name, people recognize only because of him. It's not about what he has accomplished, it's what he has done to people. And his business philosophy was the one which stuck with me is always go after the pain points of the customer and value creation. Business is all about creating value. And once you create the value, the byproduct which you get as a part of that value creation is money. So don't ever go after money because you can never chase money. Money follows you. So you have to do something for money to follow you. So he always say that pick up the passion, which problem you want to solve, and go after it. And his wise wisdom words, he didn't educate it, so he is not an educated person, but I think all the lessons, life lessons, and he implemented. And I think that stories always revolve me. And I think that if there is no environment for him, but he cherished and he created the value for himself with the kind of a support system which we have today, how much impact you can create. And that is the humbling experience for me, right? Whatever you have done, it's nothing. You can do so much more for people. So always have the bigger ambitions in order to make a difference in people's life so that people can remember you, the way you have led life and the impact you have created. So that is number one. And the number two is it's the same philosophies. One of the thing is like you come here, one of the my mentor, he is like very, very close and high impact on my life. He told one thing is, Ram, you have to believe in this, okay? It's not about saying it. It took like decades of experience for him to be a real, is create an environment for the people around you, always succeed in two ways. One is they are growing in their personal life and a career, and also you are making them grow in monetary value as well, right? You are increasing the value creation for them at the cost of your gain. So as long as you are a leader to create that value creation around you, you bring loyalty. You bring people will basically go and bend their backs to take your vision to reality. This is actually a leadership philosophy. It took like few years for me to nurture, but I'm still trying. I'm getting better at it. But this is something you have to keep working on it.
Yeah, let me pick up on that very last statement is, you're trying to continuously get better and improve. What are some of the challenges that you struggle with to this day as it pertains to leadership and management?
I'll be brutally honest, right? That is one of the trade which helped me so far when you look at it. So a few years back, I started my entrepreneurship journey from nothing. And I came to Boston. I started a whole new life and a lot of mistakes along the way, right? And that's what creates who you are today. But along the way, now when you look back and you see, oh my God, you have done so much, you that humbling experience will convert into a kind of a satisfaction. And once that happen, it's a blind side for you. So how do you basically keep open-minded, keep curious about, keep learning? That is a challenge because as you know, like you have built business, like I have heard your stories, I know you personally, but when you look back, you need to be happy about what you have accomplished, but how much distance you can go from the foundation you have created rather than feeling satisfied. And that is something actually like I'll keep an eye on. And that is the biggest challenge right now I face every day. Am I satisfied? When I look back, can I bring that curiosity, keep bringing that curiosity and learning attitude to keep improving and making an impact? I think that is one of the biggest thing I would say. I have to keep working and keep aware of that piece.
Yeah, I think habit forming really helps with that. I also find my continuous education is almost like going to the gym. If I haven't been to the gym in a couple of weeks, it's kind of hard to restart. But if I've been going every day, you crave those endorphins, right? So you want to go. I find that kind of comes along with continuous improvement. You talked about kind of your being proud of kind of where you are today from where you came from. Thinking about the journey as opposed to the destination. So instead of point A to point Z, what are some of the things that you succeeded in along that journey that you're very proud of, and what are some of the moments along your career path that kind of jump out to you and are something that you feel like was a huge lesson that you have brought with you?
I think like few, again, this is what I call as breaking your own glass ceiling, right? In order to go to the next level. So the way I look at is the first one is the first reflection point in 2014 to 16 time period was the breaking point for me to go into the leadership, right? Like I would say the management and the leadership journey. But in during the COVID time, just before when I applied to MIT, it's like I started a new life. When I did that, there are two questions which changed my life. I think like this is one of the things I keep on asking people, right? One thing was, what is your biggest regret if you die today, right? So start from that. So as long as you are trying that, there is no regret in your life. So that like at least you can die peacefully, right? And the second one, this changed my life from my corporate to entrepreneurship, number one, but I didn't know where to start. And I have to dig deeper. So the second question, which changed the complete philosophy, the way I lead my teams and I run my business and I lead my life is how you want people to remember you once you're done, right? With your life or career, you can talk about anything. It's a kind of a legacy. So that changed the way I conduct now and how I basically speak to people, how I think about businesses, how I basically make an impact. That philosophy changed. And also that's how I got connected with my co-founder, Justin, because we both want to create that legacy in order to make a difference with the skill sets which we have and the ecosystem which we have, right? So I would say like that second question changed my life completely.
Mm. That's awesome. I like the, what would you regret? What I think oftentimes, and this might not be every time, but it's personal relationships, right? And, would you be okay today if that person passed away, given your lack of communication or whatever? So I think that's really good. I had an experience a few years ago where I think I asked myself that question. And way back when I was in high school, I had borrowed a friend's car and I had gotten into an accident, and there was some disputes about how much I needed to give him. Well, I felt that he was trying to manipulate me, and over time, I realized that I was in the wrong. So it had been, it had to be 15 years, in between 15 and 20 years since I had spoke to him. And I was in Brazil, and I called him up and said, "Hey, listen, I need to apologize to you, and explain to you why I had done what I did, and kind of what I learned over time eventually." And so now we're friends again. I actually cut him a check for $1,000, which was what I owed him. And so that was kind of that one person that I knew I had wronged, but I didn't, in the moment, I didn't know that I had wronged him. It took time for me to kind of realize that, oh, actually, I have been wrong this whole time. And then
It's great. Actually, like you reflected and you went back. It's
yeah.
not easy to admit that I was wrong after that long.
Yeah.
Kudos to you.
I also didn't know if he was going to accept my apology. So I was fortunate that he did. And then the remember thing. So we at Vistage in our group, we have lots of different speakers, and I will say my favorite speaker is Dan Quiggle. Dan Quiggle, Quiggle. Look him up. His presentation is phenomenal, and it's a tearjerker in the best way. But he said, if you were to die today, give me one word that your children would use to describe you. And I remember I saw his presentation a couple times, and some people had a really good adjective. Some people did not have a very good adjective. And it was just mind blowing. And I think it definitely goes down to, I think the definition, so this is definitely how I look at things. My definition of success is how good my eulogy will be written by my children. Not because I want praise and glory and because any of that, I won't be around to see it, or maybe I will, right? But it would be validation. So if I work toward that eulogy, that means that I'm focusing my time and attention in the right areas. Yeah. I actually want to jump back as we were talking about education, because I find it fascinating. What are some of the books that you've read that you would recommend to the audience that they check out?
For me, I think like the highest impact right now, when I look back, right, I think Start With Why. Probably I have
by Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is one of the phenomenal book, had a huge impact on me, especially bringing back the purpose back, right? For me, that one. And I think like during my early leadership days, I got fascinated with this book called Surrounded by Idiots.
I like the title. Okay.
Yep, exactly. When you read the book, it will change you the way you think. But again, like I don't like to put people into baskets, but it's a way for people to start looking things and becoming more mature, and how to become an effective communicator with different personalities. Because most of the time you tend to like the people the way behave in your similar wavelength, but how do you become a more effective communicator with every other side of it? And that book helped me in order to visualize, because like we tend to visualize the frameworks and now you can repeat it. So I think that helped me. And the other two books which comes to my mind is Five Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yeah.
That is another phenomenal book.
Is that Patrick Lencioni?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The red color one, still I remember that.
The red cover. That's right. Yeah.
And other one is the Leadership Challenge. I think these are some of the books which have higher impact on me.
Mm-hmm. What is the Leadership Challenge about?
They talk about how do you basically like create impactful change within your organization. It's basically like what I'm trying to do with Coherence, right? It's like, how can you bring that high impact, and how do you make that high performing teams basically within the organization?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. Well, I think before we end the podcast, what advice would you give to other leaders and managers?
Follow their own path, but I think I would say like reflection into their inner journey. This is one of the things which I am being very vocal now, because I always am a big believer that if you want to make an impact outside, you have to dig deeper. So do self-reflection, number one, and number two, have mentors who can make you accountable and tell you what they see, so that it's a kind of like a mirror reflection for you to see how you are behaving, so that you can go and make a change. And put yourself, always bring that accountability back, because nobody will be telling you that go here and go there. And to make a change, to become a better leader, it's about you. So you need to have that self-driven passion, right? Mm-hmm. So always ignite that passion to become a better leader, so that you can bring an impact within the team organizations. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Well, this was awesome, Ram. Thank you so much. And then for everybody out there, as always, if you find conversations like this valuable, please share it with a colleague or your professional network. If you haven't already, subscribe to get updates of new episodes at thefdagroup.com/podcast, and follow the FDA Group on LinkedIn. If you'd like to connect about project or resource needs, head over to thefdagroup.com, or feel free to get in contact with me personally on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.